Welcome to another episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name's Nick Ponty. I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Clark. How you doing?
Good, Nick. How are you?
Oh, good. We're recording this on the 1st of November. Last night was Halloween. Trick-or-treating, mate. Did you get bags full of swag?
I loved it. I actually love going out, guys, and it was quite good to see the kids getting right into it. Like Ma's at that age now where she gets excited about it, and it's quite cool. Quite cool.
Yeah, it's getting competitive round my bit. Like, you want to see the houses, they've got the big inflatables out and these animatronics or whatever you call them, things that talk to you and all that. So yeah, we've got to keep up with the Joneses round here.
All right, there's the refurb budget going your next project.
Can't fit any more Halloween decorations up in that loft. So,
nice, mate. Who have you got lined up today for us?
Yes, had a really good chat with a guy called Nick Guit. So I think it's Dutch, I think he said. So Nick Guit, G-U-I-T. He has got his own construction company. He's a builder to trade. He's got a background in building surveying as well. And he's actively doing like property developments. I've seen a couple of posts online recently. He's taken on this big church conversion down in Millport. Some of you will be aware of Millport, beautiful wee island off the west coast, and he's got this big development that he talked about doing there. Talked about his kind of beginnings, how he started out as an apprentice in the shipyard, YTS, I think it was called back then, as a welder. That wasn't for him. Progressed through into working for other people in construction, then started his own business. We talked about the challenges of running your own business, the challenges of getting tradesmen.
Yeah, I like to chat on the trades as well because we don't often get builders or tradesmen actually doing anything in property. So it's quite nice to see someone from that background actually utilising their skill sets to build, do their own flips and build their own portfolio. So it's quite good from that point of view. So listeners can probably take some tips on and see from there. Unfortunately, it wasn't like all good news, was it? Because when you were asking him for tips on, how to attract good trades, how to retain good trades in your team and stuff like that. He had just today had an example he shared. He's been let down from a scaffolder, and he's like, this shit happens all the time. So 30 years in this business, he's still finding it. So it probably gives the guys out there doing projects right now that are having a bit of struggle with trades and getting the right team in. It probably gives you a little bit of comfort that you're not alone.
Yeah,
even guys who experience struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, because there's a guy that's been involved for 25 years, and he's still having the same problems that everybody else is having. So that for me was quite refreshing. That was honest in that. And we debate about the property education as well. That was quite good there. And
Nick loves to get in the property education debate if anything.
And it's a good interview. So I hope you enjoy this listen with Nick Guit. Here you go, guys. Okay, welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. Nick Guit, how are you today?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. How are you guys?
Brilliant.
Good, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. No, thanks for having me.
Excellent. So I followed a couple of your posts on social media, so it's great to get somebody on with experience like yourself and just to hear a little bit about your backstory and how you got involved in property. So let's take you right back to the start. What was it initially took your interest?
So when I left school, I basically just wanted money. I wanted to get a car, so I ended up taking any job. I ended up working in the shipyards as a welder, and I hated it from day one. But I stuck it out. It was good money. It paid all the bills, and as soon as I got my qualifications, I knew I wanted to do something different. I went to college. I did an HND in engineering, but I couldn't get a job anywhere as an engineer. So the girl that I was with at the time, her dad had a roofing and building company, and I worked. I think it was like during the summer, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was just a completely different environment. There was I think there was 6 of us. We had a few vans. We did a lot of maintenance work. We did work at private houses. Working in the shipyards, you were behind a barbed wired wall all day. You had to check in, check out. I just didn't like the environments, and I was just really, really interested in the construction industry. So I always thought that the 4 years at the shipyards and the 2 years at college were a bit of a waste of time, but because I never wanted to be someone that had one of these careers that jumped all over the places. We all had friends that every time you spoke to him, he was doing something different, but it did all tie in quite well with construction because I even to this day, I've got a welding kit and I was welding some steel beams about 2 months ago. So, I've always kind of lent on that experience and having that HND, although it was in engineering, that got me into, I think I joined uni I can't remember if I joined second year or something, but that HND in engineering got me into university when I done my degree in building surveying. So overall, it's been a kind of 30-year career in the construction industry, albeit I went from the shipyards to a kind of roofing and building company, and then that evolved into a property development company. So yeah, all tied in quite well with a construction career.
Was that the shipyards down in, was it Govan or something like that?
Govan, yeah. So it was Caverna at the time, and we did one of the biggest army ships they'd ever done. I think they said, look, whatever went to the Falklands War, that ship could have carried a third of it in the one go. So we worked on that, and we worked on a lot of the stainless steel tankers. But yeah, it just wasn't a very nice environment. You know, when you're welding in a tank, it's just full of fumes, and you were just dirty all the time, and because we were young, they didn't really give us an awful lot to do. In fact, I think I spent a year being told to hide by the manager because we're working on the stainless steel tanks and they didn't want us touching them. So every morning they just used to say, away you go and hide. So I think we did that for almost a year. Luckily, I had a couple of really good friends at the time that passed the time. But yeah, I just knew I didn't like it. I can remember the first 2 weeks being in the skill centre, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I think we were getting about £100 a week, and most of my friends were on YTS getting £30 a week. So it was good money. And by the time you were in second and third, by the time you were in third year, you were almost getting what a tradesman got. And you're going back, you're going back 25 years, maybe closer to 30 years. I'm pretty sure we were getting like £10, £12 an hour way back then. So it was really good money,
That's interesting now, isn't it? Because, like, you look at young people now and you think, a lot of people are they don't really want to work for a living and all that. But surely doing something like that, where you're getting an apprenticeship scheme or something like that, and you're actually progressing on to like a trade where you're earning good money. How would you advise young people now, like, going through that sort of in the construction, especially with your experience? Is that a worthwhile route for people?
Absolutely. I do a bit of talking for founders for schools. I don't know if you've heard of them. So you can volunteer and you go along to local schools, and it's to help the high school kids get ready for working life. And I always say to them, every single job I had, it gave me a little bit of experience. And whether it was a personal experience, whether it was working under a certain manager or a certain process, or whether it was developing a skill, just do everything to the best of your ability. Because if you're one of those people that's just work shy and you try and look for shortcuts, and you'll just end up doing your whole kind of business career that way, whether it's a job or whether it's your own business. So just do everything to the best of your ability, and if you can get in the door somewhere, just learn from it. It's never too late to change, because I went to university when I was 29. I do wish I'd maybe went when I was younger, because everyone I was at uni with was probably about 18 to 20, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with going at that age. And looking back now, 29 was still quite young. But yeah, it's never too late to change. Just do everything to the best of your ability, and then if you don't enjoy it, I'll try and find something you enjoy. But you can always move on after a year or 2 years, 3 years. But yeah, having that, if something disastrous happened, I could always go back and be a welder. I could always go back and be a general builder. I've got core skills there that as long as you're physically fit, that no one can take away from you. And even if, I don't know, let's say property disintegrated and was no longer a thing, I could always go back and be a welder. You've always got those skills. So yeah, just try and get. I would always say that to my son. If he wants to be, if he wants to go and do something completely different, that's fine. If he doesn't want to use his hands and he maybe wants to do like an architect or an engineer, that's fine. But I would always try and say to him, get a core skill behind you. Go and be a joiner or something like that. Even if you want to do something later, go and get those skills when you leave school.
And when was it you started up your own construction business then and really started working for yourself?
So when I went to work with my ex-partner's dad, I was 24 at the time, but I ended up the managing director of that company. But that was for tax purposes. That wasn't because I was so amazing at my job. But he showed me all the ropes. I used to go to all the meetings, meet all the clients. I was obviously signing all the bank stuff, so I got a real I got a real education in how to run a business, albeit it was his business. So I then went back to university when I was 29, And I didn't realise to become a chartered surveyor, you had to stay on another 2 years and do even more exams. And by that time, I was 33. So they told me I could leave with a Bachelor of Science, and I did that. But I didn't realise that just being a normal surveyor wasn't super high paid. You know, you had to be chartered to start making some bigger money. So went back and started my own business. And again, I thought I'd wasted all those years at university, because here I was back in a van with my dirty clothes on, looking for driveways, decking jobs, extension jobs. But the minute I used to introduce myself as a building surveyor, it opened all sorts of doors. So not only I wasn't just Joe Bloggs a builder, I was, oh, here's a builder, oh, you're a building surveyor as well. And all of a sudden I would, oh, could you go and look at this, or my friend needs it, or could you come to a meeting about a project that we've got on? So yeah, I kind of leveraged that quite a lot. And I obviously I grew that business, albeit it was 2008, and everything just went. It was something the world hadn't seen before. Someone came in and told me Persimmons Homes had just shut down all their sites. I couldn't really get my head around it, and I thought starting my own business was going to be a disaster as well. But I actually grew my business in the recession, because people couldn't move. Everyone just wanted extensions. Everyone wanted to do the garden up. So I went from me and one guy to having 4 vans, and there was about 15 of us within about 3 years. I didn't have any management experience, which was my downfall. But yeah, it was a really good overall experience. And sometimes we were making lots of money, other times we weren't, because I didn't have the management experience. But yeah, that kind of gave me, that was the biggest part of my knowledge, I think, just starting my own business. That kind of 5-6 year period, I still leverage that all the time. When I look for, when we've got any problems or we've got any situations going on, that's the point in my career that kind of taught me just about everything that I know at the time.
Is that just kind of like dealing with the everyday problems and wearing all the hats that you'd wear as a kind of small business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, again, I talk about this quite a lot as well. You can be the best joiner in the world, the best plumber in the world, but just that doesn't make you a good businessman. So a lot of people I had a business coach and he was pretty good, but yeah, I should have leveraged more the people that were running about me at the time. I desperately needed more management skills. I fortunately had quite a good team, because I got involved with another business years after that, and it grew too quick, and we were pulling people off the street to come and work with us, and it was an absolute disaster. Nothing materialised kind of the way it was supposed to. But yeah, although I had a bit more management experience then, that was something else that I get kind of sucked into. And
what was that business? Was that in the same industry?
Yeah, same industry. Yeah, someone else asked us to join up and do a large scale business, but we were supposed to be doing large scale sites, and we never. And we ended up, there was like 15, 20 smaller extension jobs on the go, and it was just an absolute disaster. As I say, the message was get more guys, and looking back, that was the biggest downfall. I should have said no. We need to stabilise what we've got here. But we were going out, we were getting guys all the time. We were getting, basically, they weren't even getting interviewed. We were putting adverts on, and I was telling them to meet me at the job the next day. So it's like everything, guys will be good for a week or two, and then they'll start carrying on and phoning in sick and not showing up, and there just wasn't enough management. It was literally me trying to look after about 25 guys, which, looking back, was just impossible. So yeah, that was another sharp.
What would you say is the most challenging part of running like being a builder and running a construction company? Is it what's the hardest part of it?
Definitely dealing with the staff. I hear so many people talking about it. Just about every builder, every small builder that I talk about, they all talk about the same issues. They're overworked, they're overstressed, their guys let them down. I think there's been a massive shift from what I've seen probably 15, 16 years ago. There's a massive shift in the work ethic. Everyone just seems so lazy now. The guys that are really good charge an awful lot, and they deserve to get that. But the guys, there's so many average guys and poor guys in the industry now. It's just like everyone's work shy. And I'm talking about guys that are in their 40s, even in their 50s. They're quite happy to only come to work 3-4 days a week. They'll work Saturday, but they'll phone in sick on the Monday because they've been out drinking on the Sunday night. And you're like, well, what is the point? They'll let you down at the drop of a hat. You know, if Celtic or Rangers are playing, it's a lucky dip who's coming to work the next day. You know, if there's a European game on a Wednesday night, guaranteed someone's going to phone in sick the next day.
And that's a constant battle that you've had over the years. And even like you say, you know, guys are getting well paid, aren't they? You know, like what's the kind of day rate now for you know, like if you're taking in somebody, a joiner or something like that, and you're trying to price a job, like what you kind of base these figures on?
Well, you're going to be paying them somewhere between 20 and 25. You know, if you want a really good joiner, somebody that turns up every day, he's got all the proper tools, he's got a van, he's looking for 25 quid because he knows he's good.
250 a day or something.
Mind with tradesmen when you ask anybody in property, a property investor, developer, a build, even hearing it from a builder blows my mind. And you ask what's the biggest quality a tradesman that you take on, and they say if they're reliable. Like fuck me, you have to be that good at your fucking job. If you just turn up to your job and actually do the job when you're supposed to do it, you're actually already above 90% if all the other trades. It does blow my mind. It's like, wow.
You know, you're absolutely correct what you're saying now. 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. Nowadays, my biggest piece of advice to anyone starting their own business in any form of construction, doesn't matter if it's a decorator or a joiner, I always say, do you know what? See if you answer your phone, you answer your emails, and you turn up when you say you're going to turn up, you'll be busy all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to have a decent level of quality, but you don't even need to be the best at what you do, because there's so many people that let clients down, so many people that are sick and fed up. If you're reliable, you always answer the phone, you always turn up, and you do a decent job, you'll always be really, really busy, just because there's so many chancers and letdowns out there.
I know. I always wonder this because you look at any industry, any business. There's always dominating companies that have got huge scale, franchise companies throughout the whole of the country or global. And when you actually look at it, there's never a Bob the Builder or Jock the Plumber that's got, you know, thousands of vans throughout the UK. It's like they've always got the wee man in their van with like a couple of vans like maximum. You've never got any big scale. The only kind of scale you see in the construction industry is the suppliers, like a Screwfix or a B&Q, or even I'm assuming like companies like Persimmons and the house builders, they'll still just bring in their subbies to actually work on the sites and actually employ their own guys.
I mean, Robert McAlpine, or Sir Robert McAlpine, the company is, they're one of the biggest in the UK. And I think I remember I worked in the commercial industry about 8-10 years ago, and I think they used to employ like, I don't know, 10 or 20,000. I can't remember the exact numbers, but they were down to almost 2,000. But they were the biggest company in the UK because everyone was just a subcontractor. So the 2,000 they had was probably a bunch of office staff and a bunch of project managers and a bunch of site managers that they moved around. And they maybe had some core guys that stayed with them. But essentially, everyone else was a subcontractor. But it almost made them recession-proof because they were so big. Right. They were picking up whatever jobs they wanted. But they had such a, 2,000 is not a small number, but for a company that size with their turnover, 2,000 is nothing. So there's other companies out there. I mean, you look at, was it Carillion that went bust? Obviously, there was a lot of mismanagement behind the scenes, but, you know, they had a massive fleet of vehicles, they had a massive network, you know, massive staff numbers. And I know quite a lot of other companies, even around Glasgow, companies that maybe had 100, 200 people that have just went bust over the years. And again, I won't name them because obviously I've not spoke to them, but I know someone personally that had about 200 people. He'd grown that business for about 15, 18 years, and they always done really, really well. And he put it down to just the staff letting them down. And again, he agreed with what I said about a big shift in the kind of work ethic in people. Yeah, just people phoning in sick, and especially with obviously the cost of living and the energy crisis is fairly recent, but there's guys out there that, and I don't know how they do it. You know, I've got 2 or 3 streams of income. We always do really, really well, but I still juggle cash, especially when I've got a lot of jobs on. But, you know, these guys are quite happy to get by on £300-400 a week and phone in sick once or twice a week. And I know they're out drinking at the weekends and doing whatever else they're doing. I just don't know how they get by on, you know, phoning in sick 1 or 2 times a week. They've always got an excuse. There's always a dentist on a Wednesday morning, or there's always the dogs get the vet, or I need to take the kids to school. And sometimes, I've had guys working for me in the past, and you're literally paying them for like 3.5-4 days every single week. And you're thinking, how can you live on that? And then they're talking about, we're going to go on holiday, or we're going to get a new car. And you're thinking, how How can you afford it?
Pain. I see your pain, mate. I see your pain. Talk to us about when, obviously, you've got this building experience. You've been running your building company, and you've got your building surveyor degree as well. When did it start becoming sort of clear to you that you had to get involved in some property projects yourself, and how did all that begin?
So I've always done work for property developers, and like a lot of people, you just presume, well, these guys turn up in site once a week and they've always got a fancy car and their nice clothes on. You just thought you must need hundreds of thousands to do that. And I was telling you a brief story earlier on. So when I was about 24, 25, I got a lump sum of money, and with a family friend who was an estate agent, and I phoned her. I remember being all excited. I remember saying, I'm going to buy property, do it up and sell it, because I'd been in the building trade for a couple of years. I had some skills. We used to do a lot of maintenance stuff, so I could do a bit of tiling, a bit of joinery, a bit of roofing work. And I knew a bunch of joiners and whatever else I needed. And she said, why do you want to do that? Everybody's doing that. So I remember going to look at a property in Springburn. I remember going to look at one in Moss Park Boulevard that had some underpinning issues. And that was it. So I went and blew the money on. I think I bought a watch and I bought a big fancy jacket and probably spent the rest on going out. But
what year was that, Nick?
What's that, sorry?
What year was that?
So it must have been about 20, 25, 26. So what's that?
What age are you now?
I'm 47 now.
Right.
So that was about 22 years ago. So yeah, that must.
And now that and like, obviously you didn't go down that route at the time, and do you regret that decision?
Well, I do and I don't. I try not to live with any regrets, because life's fine now. But you always think back. See, if I just bought one of those, I would have done another one the following year, and maybe another one. And at some point, I would have picked up momentum. And if that was 20 odd years ago, I might be sitting here with 50 or 100 properties just now. Who knows? But yeah, I don't look back with any regrets. It would probably have changed things a bit. I would probably have had a less stressful life, because running a construction company and dealing with the public can be very stressful at times.
Let's flip that, the kind of construction trade side a wee bit onto the listeners, because most listeners are probably listening from an investor's or a developer's point of view. What tips would you give them on how to find the right guys, but also maintain the right guys, and just tips that you can see, because you'll have more experience than anyone else listening on how to bring these guys in, but also manage them and make sure they're
are you meaning as employing them, or just bringing them in to do some refurb work?
Bringing them in to do some refurb work, yeah.
Yeah, so again, I've done quite a bit of kind of speaking and coaching on that as well. It's not an exact science, but I always stick with guys, if they answer the phone and the emails, because as much as they're not office type people, we're going to need them to answer the phone. There's nothing worse than somebody not answering the phone. You need them to be punctual. You're going to have to get paperwork off them if you're doing stuff through a building warrant, whether it's electrical certificates, gas certificates. You need photos to show to building control. So if these guys never answer the phone, they're terrible with emails, that's going to just continue, and that's going to cause you headaches down the line. I think one thing that always does bode well, see when someone turns up and they don't have to have a nice van, because a lot of builders drive old vans, but see if they've got all the proper equipment. And by that, I'm talking about your DeWalt's, your Bosch, your Makita stuff, stuff that looks expensive. See if they buy all their tools out of B&Q, like that. Proper builders, joiners, good tradesmen don't buy like Black & Decker or all the cheap stuff that comes. They'll spend money on their tools. They also dress well as well. They've got the proper stuff and the proper tool belts, and they just look like they're a joiner or a gas fitter. Someone that turns up and they're a bit of a muddled mess, and they're going round in circles, and all their tools look as if they're falling apart. These are the guys that are working 3-4 days a week, and they're just getting by. So I always like to stick with people that look like they know what they're doing. They act like they know what they're doing. If you've got someone in to fix your boiler, it's just fluent. He just comes right in, he takes the boiler cover off, he looks at a certain few things, he adjusts a few things, he can give you lots of information. If you've got someone that's coming in and he's taking things apart and there's water flying everywhere, that to me is not a great tradesman. So yeah, try and find guys.
kind of first impressions do count for a lot,
Absolutely.
If somebody's going to take the time to clean their van or keep it tidy or keep it organized, then like you say, they obviously take a bit of pride in what they do, and that will hopefully reflect through onto the job as well that they do for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I've seen it so many times where I don't know, you just boilers are in particular. If someone knows what they're doing, they just come in, they take the boiler carcass cover off. They know right away what they're going to. Whereas if you see someone that's just kind of faffing about, yeah, that makes me nervous, especially if it's maybe like an electrician. You don't want them touching anything. But the same goes for kind of joiners and builders and plasterers. A good tradesman it makes it look effortless because he does it day in, day out. He can also explain the job to you, if you've got any questions. Lots of tradesmen don't really like speaking. They don't really like emails and phone calls and text messages. And that doesn't make them a bad tradesman. But at the end of the day, you need to liaise with them. And if they're the expert and you don't know what you're doing, you're relying on these guys to give you the information and to, answer your questions and to help you out. So you need to find people that you can work with, people that you're comfortable with, and people that are just going to give you that all-round general contact, a bit of kind of comfort and a bit of good feeling when you're around them.
What's your view on these websites that you get now, like Check a Trade and all these ones that people are going to kind of try and find tradesmen? Can they work all right, or what do you need to be careful of there?
Yeah, I think you still need to be careful because I think I used my builder about 10 years ago, and I think they asked you for a couple of references, but you could just literally phone one of your friends and ask them to give you a reference. But people do get the chance to go on and rate you. So if a company's got 20, 30, 40, 50 reviews and they're all pretty good, there's always going to be someone that didn't like them or someone that has a moan about them. But if they've got, in general, a whole bunch of good reviews, they can't all be fake. They must be genuine customers. You can tell that they use those sites a lot. So yeah, but again, there could be a new company that have just came onto it yesterday. Doesn't make them a bad company because they don't have any reviews. So yeah, again, it's about getting them out. Always get 2, 3, 4 prices, however many you've got time for, and then don't just go by the price. If you're going to just pick the cheapest price, then that's potentially going to give you problems.
I see one thing that like people seem to fall down on this again and again. So they'll get like a recommendation or something like that, right? And they'll think just because somebody's mentioned, this person that they're going to be good, and obviously everybody says go on recommendation, but then they'll phone them and they'll arrange a time, and the guy or the girl won't turn up, the first time, but then they'll keep persisting and keep giving them more chances, or they'll get let down again and again. And I think you need to take the kind of warning signals very early on and just shut it down rather than keep persisting and letting them come back and letting them fuck you over again and again. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, if someone can't even take the time to get you your quote, what are they going to be like when you get them the job? I've had a perfect example today. Scaffold guys were supposed to put a scaffold up last week. He wasn't getting back to me a lot, and I was a bit nervous, but I messaged them on, I think, the start of last week. Yeah, that's fine. Messaged them on Friday. Yeah, we'll be up. Scaffold's not up. Won't answer the phone this week. And that's just perfect example of guys. Now, listen, something could have happened. Maybe I'm being unfair, but he's been online. I can see that he's been on WhatsApp. Just a simple message. If something's up, let me know. Instead of that, just wasting my time, wasting the joiner's time. What kind of professionalism is that? They can't even answer a message to let you know why they've not put the scaffold up, because that holds everything up. It's not something you can just walk around. We can't get on the roof now. So
I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be relieved to hear you say that. Somebody who's been involved in the business for 30 years or whatever, do you know what I mean? And you're still getting let down by guys. So, we kind of beat ourselves up sometimes, we get stressed about this sort of stuff happening, but it's actually refreshing to hear that you still have the same problems as everybody else.
It's one of my biggest gripes about these online property courses or the shop property courses. None of them even talk about they'll talk about the refurb, as in go and get a refurb done. It's not as easy as just pick up the phone and get a refurb done. That is actually the hardest part of the journey. Yes, you've got to find them. Yes, you've got to find the finance, and that could cause different people problems. if you think you're just going to pick up the phone a builder, get a refurb done, that's the thing that's going to cost you the most money. That's the thing that's going to cause your life the most stress. That's the thing that's going to determine when you sell the project or when you refinance it. It's going to determine absolutely what your profit margins are. And none of them even go into it. They just leave all these young kids, just go and do a refurb, add as much value, put a new kitchen in, put a new bathroom in.
I'll stop you there, Nick. I go into it on my 3-day workshop because I've got 16 years of actual property experience, and then I just sell a property course. Sorry to interrupt this podcast, but just wanted to let you know about the Scottish Property Podcast Christmas Ball, which is happening at the Village Hotel in Glasgow on Saturday the 3rd of December.
Can't wait. Myself and Stephen thought it'd be a great idea to have an end of year party like no other party to celebrate building this amazing community. There's going to be a whole range of people there to network with from the great and good of the Scottish Property Network. Whether you are single, bring your partner along, or if you're an office party, make it a work night out.
Early bird tickets are available on our website for £95, which include a welcome drink, 3-course dinner, live music, and a DJ up until 1 o'clock in the morning to allow us to party on. Hope to see you guys there.
While we're on the education, have you done any of these courses or anything? Have you been in
I have,
any?
yeah. I've done, over the last 10 years, I've been to 2 or 3. I'm actually looking quite heavily into commercial now, so I've done another couple of commercial ones. But I think if you've got some experience and you go along and they just fill in the blanks, then fine. I think if you go along knowing nothing, the big thing is no money, no experience, doesn't matter, we'll show you everything. They make it sound really easy. I was watching a really good podcast with someone a couple of weeks ago, and he said, if I changed the words business or property for, let's say, golf or tennis, and I said to you, come along to my 5-day masterclass, I'll show you how to win the PGA, even if you've never picked up a golf club before, everyone would just think you're crazy. That's just a complete waste of time. But the minute you say property, well, come along to my 5-day property masterclass, even if you've no experience, you've no money, we'll show you how to build a 6-7 figure business. And people start throwing £5,000 and £10,000 at them.
And that depends on what you're offering on it. If you say, come along to my 4-day, 5-day course and you can learn how to play tennis, then fine. But it's that sale point. Come along and learn how to do property, and I'll make you a millionaire or quit your job in 60 days. Well, that's right. Then I absolutely agree with that. But yeah, it's where the sales points put it. We know it's not easy, but we see these out there that's just fucking that's nonsense.
I think there's good and bad in all industries, like you say, and I was always quite against property courses, but since meeting Stephen, and it sounds like you're on the kind of same wavelength as well, Nick. Like when I went to one of Stephen's courses there, the first time I've ever been to a property course, and I went along to his one there, I was almost put off doing property after being his course, because he literally stood there and said, right, these are the plus points, these are the downsides, and the downsides were quite scary for a lot of people, so they are made aware of that. I think it just depends, but I agree with you, Nick. There is too much of this, like, this is an easy way to make money, and that is a load of bullshit.
Yeah, I think that exactly what you're right. I mean, not every course is the same, but a lot of them make it sound too easy. A lot of them, they sell the dream. They show off flashy cars or houses, and people are lured in thinking, well, if I go and do that, well, I could have that as well. And I just think there's such a massive percentage of people who don't get anywhere. Now, again, that's down to the content they get, how it's delivered, what they're told. I've been hearing stories recently about certain courses offering specific things like one-to-one calls, or we'll get you a deal on the day, or you can have X amount of time with this person, and then not even following through with it. Literally blanking people's calls. Again, that's obviously completely unacceptable.
I started mine a couple of years ago because I was the same as you. I didn't like being criticised of an industry with saying, you know what, there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to do it right and go in, and I see how hard it is. But I still struggle to feel sorry for the people that actually spend fucking tens of thousands of pounds without actually doing their research. They'll follow someone on Instagram for 6 months, a year, or a few months, and go, oh, look at the fancy car he's got. Look at he's now doing another course. He's now doing another course. But where the fuck do you see any property in it? If you're running a property business, you'd be on site. You'd be on doing viewings. You'd be having meetings. You'd be in planning consultant, you'd be putting through a building warrant, you'd be doing property day in day out, and the people that fall for it, I think they fucking deserve it for actually not looking into the people that they're learning from.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I know the answer because I've questioned these guys on it, and they'll just say, "Oh, we've got teams that do that," and I understand. I've got a project manager doing my project management stuff in Aberdeen, but I'm still going to go to my site. I'm still going to look up in my project. I'm still going to look through it and actually put a story on Instagram and go, "Just checking on progress. Here's the kitchen going in. Here's the update." You're still going to put property related stuff up there, so the people that get sucked in, they fall for someone that doesn't do property. You deserve not having the gaps filled in to actually go and take action and do it.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and obviously, if you're going to spend money on anything, you should do your due diligence. But yeah, people just get lured in when they see the testimonials that were given halfway through the course when everyone was all excited and pumped up. But no, again, that's always what I say to them as well. You know, they all make, or most of them make nearly all of their income from the training. The training's so rewarding for them. They just put all their finances into the marketing for the training.
Yeah.
And they're
I
just
don't know if
churning them out.
guys, I don't know if you've noticed this, right? But like when I look at the photos and videos of people that go to these courses and in the room and all that, the demographic and the age, it seems to be really young, predominantly male, I've got to say, and young under 25s, probably 80% of the time. And that all ties back to what you were saying earlier on, Nick, about, young folk just not wanting to work and put in the graft and the effort and all that, because they literally see this lifestyle and they've bought into it. And God knows where they're getting the money from, because, like you say, you're talking about 12 grand or whatever. Is it student loan? Like, is it credit card? Like,
Probably mum and dad's credit card, and then they'll still be paying it off 12 months later.
So anyway, moving on. Like, what have you done in property anyway? We've not even touched on that. Like, what?
Yeah, so going back probably 12 years, I bought my first house years and years ago, but after that, never really done anything else. But yeah, I bought my first investment. It was actually my grand's house when she passed away, so I still own that one. But yeah, I was just playing about. It was literally doing like one flip every year, and yeah, you were making a bit of money, and your little pot of cash was going up. But all I was doing was creating more work for myself because my construction business was always busy. So I was having to do my own properties at nights and weekends, and that's fine when you're younger and you've got lots of energy and you don't have any kids. But yeah, you start getting fed up going to work 3-4 nights a week, working Saturdays and Sundays, even though it's for yourself. It still just becomes a bit mundane, and you're just constantly working, constantly in your dirty clothes. So I had to kind of figure out a strategy that was going to allow me to maybe stop doing work for the public, and just start doing mostly my own property stuff, because it's not a 5-minute process. If you stop working and you've got a flip, you're not going to get paid until that deal's sold. So what's going to pay the bills in between? So yeah, I actually got a business coach, and we kind of came up with a strategy that was going to allow me to get into that cycle where I was able to step back and just slowly but surely I could stop taking work. So we just kind of took jobs from the public as and when they suited us, depending on the size of the job, the location, who the client was, because most of the time the guys were working on my stuff. So yeah, over I don't know, kind of 2-3 year period, we managed to kind of make that a possibility. So yeah, we're kind of self-sufficient in property. We will do some stuff for the public, but yeah, predominantly just our own things that we work on. Obviously, we work one-to-one with some clients as well, showing them what to do. But yeah, 75% of what we do is developments, and maybe 25% on the coaching side, just to help other people that want to kind of come and see what we do, and kind of let us show them hands-on what to do.
When you say developments, you mean like flipping houses and flats
and
things like that?
Well, I ignored the buy-to-let strategy for years. I had a terrible tenant years ago, but again, looking back, that was my fault. I didn't want to pay an estate agent because I was a builder. I thought, well, I'll deal with anything that comes up. I was advertising on Gumtree. I would take the first person that came along, take their money. So she was in the house for, I don't know, 3-4 months. And then she did a midnight flit, stole the bed, the TV, wrecked the place. So I thought, never ever want another tenant. So we just did flips. And then I became aware of the buy-to-let refinance strategy. And obviously you start appreciating what exactly property is, because I just seen property as a vehicle to make me kind of 20-30 grand every now and again on a flip. Then you start seeing the long-term potential, and understanding what inflation actually means, looking at the things like the interest rates. So yeah, you just start understanding all the ins and outs. So I just, believe property is such a valuable commodity now. It's difficult to get mortgages now. What's it going to be like in 10, 20 years' time? My kids will probably struggle to get mortgages. So yeah, we just want to have a decent sized portfolio. And I just think that'll give a very, very a very comfortable retirement in terms of financial residual income, assets that are sitting there. So yeah, we started holding property and we've started looking at other things now, looking at a lot of commercial stuff. So we bought a church this year. I was going to say last year. So yeah,
this is the one in This is the one in Millport, is it?
Yeah. So I've actually got a flat in Millport. Again, that was another good investment opportunity. But my partner, she spent a lot of time there. Her family had a flat there growing up, so she really wanted to get that. Our family in Canada they've all got cottages up at the lake, and it's just a really nice environment. It's somewhere that everyone goes. So she wanted to do something similar in Millport. So I said, well, it has to be an investment opportunity. I'm not going to buy a fully renovated property. So we bought something that needed a lot of work, and we've done that work. So that creates a lot of profit there, and we'll refinance that and start buying something else. But yeah,
do you let that out on Airbnb and stuff like that?
No, we were going to, but we've just decided that we're just going to keep it for ourselves. So we didn't like the thought of someone else sleeping in our bed and someone else sleeping in the kids' bed. So we've done it up quite nice, and we leave all our personal items down there, and you can spend a wee bit extra on decorations and pictures and vases, cutlery and all your other personal stuff, because you're not going to let it out. But yeah, we'll maybe buy another one down there for letting out. That's on the agenda. But I knew of the church, and I was aware of any kind of shops and things that were lying empty. And you always, because obviously we've got an interest in the area now, and we've got a lot of friends down there, you want it to be a kind of vibrant community. So I had plans to kind of look at some of the shops and see if there was something I could do with them, maybe any businesses that were down there that we could do something with. Because it's really took off. I think especially during COVID, it's get more popular. During the summer, you can be 3 hours trying to get on and off the island with the queues. It's quite quiet in the winter time. But yeah, I had a couple of business partners down south that were looking for service and accommodation up here, and they wanted it to be larger, high-end stuff. So I showed them the church, and they came up and they visited the area. Fortunately, it was a nice sunny day, and I was able to take them around and show them everything. And the ferry over, just looking up down the Clyde coast, they were blown away. Oh, so yeah, we purchased the church. So yeah, we're going to have to renovate that. Hopefully early next year we'll get onto that project.
What's the plan for that one then, Nick? Is that the split into different multiple units, or just keep it as a one unit?
No, so hopefully it'll be potentially 4. There was plans done before. I think it was like 7 apartments. Then the guy switched the strategy. He was going to do some kind of 18-bed HMO for, I don't know if it was disabled or some kind of retreat for children, I think. But the parking was going to be an issue. Parking is an issue on the island. I don't know why he thought that one was going to be a good idea. I don't know if he was maybe going to get grants from somewhere. But yeah, he did have plans for a 7-bedroom, 7-apartment building, which he never followed through with. So we could have done the flip strategy, but I think it's going to be 4, maybe 5 high-end HMO service accommodation type lets, and then just try and utilise the tourist industry down there. So we've got quite a few ideas, but yeah, we really need to catch up and start getting these ideas down onto paper and getting the architects involved and getting some concrete plans in place as soon as we can.
Is that going to be quite a long-term project? Like, how does that kind of structure work as well? Like, when you're in with these other guys. So what's your part of the deal, and what do they bring? Is it?
Yeah, I suppose a good question, because a lot of it's going to fall onto me. Being in the area, I wouldn't say local because it's still an hour away, and it's going to be a bit of a logistical challenge getting workers and materials and stuff to the island. So a lot of that organisation is going to fall on my shoulders. So yeah, I suppose I'll be looking at them more for their serviced accommodation backgrounds, their knowledge and experience, and potentially finance, although we're equal finance partners. So, yeah, we need to kind of iron out all these kind of issues and make
Have you
it clear
actually
who's...
bought it then? Like,
Yeah,
is it? Aye, yeah,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Actually, it's all tied up because I did a couple of videos when I was down there, but I didn't want to say any locations at the time because although we
Aye,
verbally agreed it wasn't signed up. So yeah, everything's all signed up now. So
right.
yeah, we can talk about it freely as ours. We just need to start putting the wheels in motion to get the refurb done.
But I mean, that when I saw that video, I was like, and been in Millport a couple of times, going down there, love a good cycle around the island with the kids and all that, and I thought to myself, shit, that's a scary looking project. Not only have you got rising material prices at the moment, but you've then got to get the materials across in the ferry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, even just we've been doing obviously work in the flat, and I've done all the work, but yeah, you need to talk one of your mates into coming down with you for the weekend to give you a hand, and then we've got to get the stuff down, and then even when you are ripping the place out, you've then got to try and take all the rubbish back up because getting skips and everything's a nightmare. But yeah, obviously people do it. There's work going on the island all the time. There's quite a lot of stuff going on.
Is that?
Yeah, someone else did a church refurb. I know there was a lot of work going on at the caravan site, so there's always scaffold up. But yeah, my neighbour said she was trying to get a roofer out. I think more trying to get small maintenance jobs done is difficult for people on the island. There's only one or two guys on the island that do kind of maintenance work. But yeah, if you want like your full roof done, you just need to book it in and stick to that time. But yeah, there's always scaffolds down there. Everyone's always getting their roofs done, obviously with the age of the buildings.
So is this you pushing yourself to the next level then? Just kind of going one step further? Have you kind of had any experience with doing that kind of like, these, I mean, I presume, is that like a listed building or a...
No, it's not listed.
It's not?
No, it's not. So yeah, but we're hoping we'll get quite a lot of assistance. One of my friends did something on Rothsay, which is just behind Millport, and they said they got quite a lot of help from the local authority and they got grants and things. So yeah, we'll need to look at that and see what help we can get. But yeah, no, I've been looking a lot more at commercial. I still want to buy and hold residential because I think, as I say, 10, 20 years time, if you're sitting with 20 properties, it's just going to give you a very, very comfortable retirement. Although people are panicking and properties maybe dipping very slightly, I don't see any massive crash coming, and I'm quite happy to keep buying and holding because the bigger picture is 10, 20 years down the line, having those assets and having that residual income. But yeah, I've been looking a lot at commercial just in terms of the tax benefits.
Mm-hmm. What sort of commercial are you talking about? Warehouses?
Well, anything really. I mean, I suppose my ideal scenario would be, if you can pick something up, and it could be, just talk about areas local to me. It could be like an Annie's Land or a Partick or Clydebank. If you can find a big shop and it's maybe got 2, 3, 4 flats above, that's an ideal scenario for me because if I can get ideally a UK brand in the shop, that increases the lease value dramatically. I can split the title, I can renovate the flats upstairs, I can sell them, I can rent them. It just opens a lot of doors up. But I just think there's a lot of opportunity in the commercial side. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it could really be anything. There's some of the things you can. I don't know if you guys know much about commercial.
We've had a couple of guests on before. We've had Jerry Alexander on before talking about commercial, so we do try and touch on that and give the listeners a bit of information on that.
But yeah, no, just some of the things you can do. Potentially you can secure a commercial unit, and you can then find the tenant, put the tenant in, without actually paying the money for it. So there's obviously different ways and means around that. So I've been trying to educate myself an awful lot on the commercial side, and just kind of keep an eye on that. Again, I just think having a diverse portfolio is the main answer. A lot of people panicking, maybe wanting out a property just now. I understand if you're sitting with 10 buy-to-lets and they're all old-style Glasgow tenements, for example, you've maybe got one eye on 2025. You're maybe in a bit of a panic about things like insulation, boilers, windows, and potentially if there's a rent freeze on, you can't put the rent up, but the interest rates have been up. You could be in bother. It could be a business that's not making you any money. but if you've got a diverse portfolio, you've got some buy-to-lets, you do some flips, you've got some commercial, serviced accommodation. If you've got a kind of just that diversity across your business, you shouldn't be too badly affected, or you shouldn't be worried too much about market change conditions. The recent changes in interest rates, not something I was paying too much attention to. Obviously, you keep an eye on it, you want to know what your payments are going to be. But yeah, just because we've got different business interests, it's not something that's got me in a panic. But I can understand how some people with certain properties, certain criteria that they've got, potentially they could be in bother, especially with 2025 coming, with all the Band C EPC regulations coming up. That could be something that's going to be sore for some people.
So the future for you, Nick, you just keep buying as you're doing, diversifying the portfolio, still with the residential, still with the buy-to-lets, and the additional commercial as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we're certainly not in any rush to get out of property. It's you have to look at the long game. If you look back over the last 30, 40 years, properties just steadily went up most of the time. There's been a couple of dips, but we're in a small landmass. We don't have tons and tons of available space, like Canada or America or places like this. We've got a housing shortage, so yeah, the economy's in a bit of a, I don't know if it's in a bit of a mess, but obviously there's a lot of uncertainty just now. So yeah, for me, property's still the vehicle. It's given my skills, and I always say I get quite a lot of builders that will come and talk to me about property, and I